This video is brought to you by Square. Get up to $200 off Square hardware when you sign up at square.com/go/Dan, and stay tuned after the video for more info. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell, and this is my review of The Phoenician Scheme, which is the latest film from Wes Anderson. It's going to be opening in a handful of theaters this weekend, mostly in LA and New York, and then it hits wide release next weekend. This is the 12th feature film from Wes Anderson, following 2023's Asteroid City. He also wrote the screenplay, as is customary, with longtime collaborator Roman Coppola receiving a story by credit. Benicio del Toro, a relative newcomer to Wes Anderson's troupe of actors, gets the lead here as Zsa Zsa Corda, an international businessman and enemy of many countries whose various enterprises make him a target of frequent assassination attempts. Recovering from his latest, he appoints his daughter Liesl, an aspiring nun played by Mia Thruppleton, as his heir, and embarks on a journey to complete his biggest project yet, the titular Phoenician Scheme, by getting more money out of a motley group of investors. More than any other filmmaker working today, I feel like when you walk into a Wes Anderson movie, you know exactly what you're in store for. I mean, he's developed his style into pretty much its own genre at this point. This is his first time collaborating with cinematographer Bruno Delbonnel, for example, and yet this looks exactly like you would expect a Wes Anderson movie to look, which is admittedly beautiful. The characters talk like Wes Anderson characters, the humor is Wes Anderson humor, and everything is unmistakably Wes Anderson, which is a great thing as long as everything works. The issue with the Phoenician Scheme is that it just doesn't altogether work. The movie starts out strong, and a lot of that has to do with Benicio del Toro. His performance is actually one of my favorite lead performances in a Wes Anderson movie in quite a while. He brings some depth to a character that's already pretty complicated. I mean, this is a man who's hated around the world, and not without reason. The first third of the movie or so is on del Toro's shoulders, and he delivers.
They're not my heirs.
Why not?
I have my reasons.
Which are what?
My reasons? I'm not saying. I'm saying I'm not saying.
He also forms a trio as the movie goes on with his daughter, played by Thruppleton, a first-time Wes Anderson actor, and his personal tutor, Bjorn, played by Michael Cera, who fits so perfectly into Wes Anderson's style that it kind of seems like he's been in one of his movies before, but he actually hasn't. Thruppleton brings great deadpan energy to her role, and Cera puts in a really strong supporting performance as a very goofy character with very sincere intentions, and the movie really hums along with them at the center of it. However, as has become custom with Wes Anderson films, the Phoenician Scheme then becomes an interlocking puzzle box of characters as Zsa Zsa, Liesl, and Bjorn meet the various investors in this project. All of them are played by talented actors like Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, Jeffrey Wright, Scarlett Johansson, Riz Ahmed, Matthew Amalric, and Benedict Cumberbatch. But with the introduction of each new character, the movie loses more and more focus until it eventually cracks under its own weight. There's not much about Wes Anderson's style that's really changed over the years, but the difference is that a lot of his earlier films combined that style with a strong humanity at the center, a core character or characters that you actually cared about. And I think that he's been moving further and further away from that lately. He kind of dipped his way into it pre-Grand Budapest Hotel, and then I think he really found his footing with that movie again. And I thought that maybe he was heading the same direction with this film for the first third of it or so, but instead I think he indulges some of his own worst instincts. He seems much more in love with his intricate sets and detached sensibility than he is in actually getting us, the audience, engaged in the story. I mean, he feels so detached from this movie that he's basically an audience member commenting from his seat next to you. That sheet of glass that separates the movie from the audience is what a lot of people love about Wes Anderson's work, to be fair, but to me it makes it feel like a museum piece, and that's what the Phoenician Scheme feels like it's in a museum. Look but don't touch, watch but don't feel. And for me, what's great about movies is that they bring me in. They don't keep me at a distance. It's a shame because I did feel brought in for the first part of the movie when it was more focused on its main trio of characters. I understood who they were, what they wanted. They developed a comedic rhythm and sensibility that I liked. They were the rock that I really tied myself to, but then the movie slowly drifted away from them, leaving me stranded in an ocean of ironic detachment. The Phoenician Scheme actually reminds me a lot of Christopher Nolan's Tenet, in that both movies showed some of the great things that each of those filmmakers was capable of, but both movies ultimately were drawn down by the worst excesses of those filmmakers. Now, Christopher Nolan rebounded spectacularly with Oppenheimer, which was a movie that really refocused and recentered its attention on the human characters of the story. And I think that that's what Wes Anderson needs. He needs to come up with his own next Max Fisher or Royal Tenenbaum, a character that's at the heart of the story that he can construct everything meticulously around. He comes close with Del Toro in this movie, but I think he literally loses the plot. In other words, I think Wes Anderson needs to be challenged. He feels too comfortable, which isn't surprising, given that he basically has a patron in producer Stephen Rails, a billionaire who's financed Anderson's films since 2007's The Darjeeling Limited. I mean, unchecked creative freedom is something that every artist desires, but it can sometimes be a great roadblock in the development of an artist. It feels like Wes Anderson doesn't want to challenge himself. He's stuck in a rut. In other words, it's like he's creating a meticulously designed, symmetrical, beautiful to look at creative prison for himself. The Phoenician scheme starts strong, but I think sticking it out until the end will be difficult for all but the most devoted fans. However, because it is a Wes Anderson movie, it does look better than almost any other movie I've seen this year, and I can't fault the performances for any shortcomings in the script. The ensemble is talented, and they bring what energy they can, and I think, as I mentioned before, that Del Toro, Threppleton, and Sarah are standouts in the movie. I thought that Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston were pretty funny for their part of the film, where they're basically a vaudeville comedy duo, but there are other actors like Scarlett Johansson and Richard Ayoade, who I like very much, who are basically wasted in the movie. They're less than an afterthought. While there isn't anything substantially different about this movie than other Wes Anderson movies in the last 10 years or so, I didn't like it as much as some of his others. The strong start and some genuine laugh-out-loud moments can't bail out the rest. And ultimately, I have to go with it's fine. And that's really almost kind of generous. It's only because of those highlights of the first third of the movie and the performances that I like so much. But I think that if you're looking for something different or some kind of an evolution from Wes Anderson, then you're probably going to be disappointed with this one. So those are my thoughts on the Phoenician scheme. Are you still excited by it? Are you going to head out to see it when it's open in your market? Let me know down in the comments below. And before we go, I'm going to thank the sponsor for this review, Square.
Once or twice a week, I meet up with my buddy at the local brewery, which is always packed. And if you've ever tried to pay at a bar, you know it can be a hassle. But there, it's always a breeze because they use Square. I pay right at the terminal at the bar, or they bring a handheld payment device right to me at the table. It keeps the drinks flowing and everybody happy. You've probably used Square and didn't even know it. All you have to do is pull out your phone and pay within seconds. And for business owners, it's invaluable because Square allows you to actually run your business instead of being stuck at the register. Square isn't just for brick and mortar businesses. You can operate online or in person across several different locations, and Square can also help track sales and inventory. I've tried helping with merch sales before without using Square, and it's a mess. With Square, you can accept all major credit cards and payment methods, including Google Pay and Apple Pay, and it does what a good service should do. It makes your life easier. If you're a new business owner or one that's looking to grow, Square has all the tools that you need and keeps up so you don't have to slow down. Get everything you need to run and grow your business right now without any long-term commitments. And why wait? Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/Dan. That's SQUARE.com/GO/Dan. Thanks to Square for sponsoring this review, and thank you for watching. Be sure to stay tuned right here for more movie news, reviews, box office, and more once I get back to the studio and off the road. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.